and it's kind of interesting. I'm reflecting on what I said in that video, and kind of what I was about to say, because I was about to say that, well, it started in a UX class, right? And because my teacher asked us to do an app on, any kind of app on anything we wanted. And because I'm a single mom, I decided that I'm going to do an app for single moms, right? So that kind of was the beginning. But in the video, I actually share more of how I became a single mom and how, that experience really fed into this app. Because if I wasn't a single mom, this app wouldn't exist. I guess, me becoming a single mom was almost like day zero or thing zero, and me kind of going through that experience and becoming pregnant, and having a lot of realizations, which the biggest one, or one of the biggest ones, was that whatever I do affects my baby. However I treat myself, whatever I eat, however like I feel or whatever, if I take care of myself or not is going to very much affect more than just me, is going to affect my son. And that experience, I would say, was very much like, even if you have a hard time living yourself or something, but then there's this other being that's totally dependent on you. And it's like easier to love someone else sometimes than it is to love you, especially when this, being is totally helpless and totally dependent on you. And, and something inside me where like, I need to do better, I need to do better to give a better life for my baby, and I will also be honest in the sense that there were times during my pregnancy where I did think to myself, am I going to be a good mom? Like there were times where I'm like, maybe my son would be better with someone else. I knew I was going to be a single mom, and I was living with my parents. I didn't have a job. I didn't have money. There's like, and I also have struggled with mental health. I had all these different things happening. I struggled with depression and whatever, and it was really hard. But I had these thoughts where like, maybe he would be better with someone else who did have more stability, did have financial, kind of security, had a job, maybe, a couple, not, one. So there were times where I considered that. It was really, really hard for me because I'm like, I already love this baby who's inside my belly so much, that I am willing to give him up for like my own happiness so that he could be with someone else who could give him more than I can, so it was really hard to just the thought, because I'm like, I am struggling and I don't have, like support or like financial kind of independence, whatever. But then my mom, I know. But then my mom, kind of like, I remember I talked to her about that, and she was like, no, no, don't even think about that. She was very much like, we'll make through, we'll survive. It's gonna be okay. That kind of stuff that like, I'm like, okay, maybe it will be okay. Maybe I'm not alone, because my mom, I mean, she was really, really happy when she found out that I'm pregnant, actually, even though I didn't have like a husband, I didn't have a boyfriend at the time. And she was like, oh my God, this is like the happiest news ever. She was so happy, you know. And I was like, I don't know how they're gonna react to this. And I was like almost 30 at the time. I was like 29, like in seventh heaven. She was like, don't even think about having an abortion. Like super, super supportive, extremely happy. But I will share something that's very how should I say this? The economic, like kind of like two side, almost double edged with my mom. And since it's only us, sharing this, at one point of my pregnancy, I had a really big scare where I was told by my doctor that there's a high chance my son will have Down syndrome. I was like, wow, and I was like, I don't care. I told my mom about it. And again, I'm just sharing this because it's the three of us. She told me that if that's the case, that I should leave my son at the hospital and not bring him home. So she was really supportive of me being pregnant, but not for like a child who had a disability, like, whatever. And but one thing I remember, I cried really hard when I found out the song by Lady Gaga. And it was really funny that it came on kind of like I just like learned of the song literally when I found out about this, information. And I'm listening and I'm driving, right? And I'm listening to the song. It's called The Cure, right? And it literally was singing about my experience to me. It said like, I'll fix you, kind of like I'll fix you with my love, right? Some of these words are like I can't talk about this. It's really interesting to me because I know, I feel like I have a lot of these things to share, and I really don't mind sharing them. I already have shared, a number of these things with people. She was like the second parent, because I didn't have anyone else, and I am grateful that I had my mom. Because if not for my mom, I don't think my father would have been supportive at all. So in a way, it's almost like my mom really helped me to have my son, to like continue to support me and all this stuff. But she has supported me and my son a lot. Song by Gaga, and the words she says, in that song, I mean, Jesus, if you listen, it says like, "I will rub your feet," or whatever if you're tired. It's like she's singing to like a little baby, and I was envisioning myself in that, like as if I'm singing to my son, and like I'll fix you with my love, whatever, saying. I'm like, I don't care that I'm gonna love you no matter what. The bigger kind of experiences for me, really kind of like doubting myself. Can I really, be a good mom for him, kind of thing? But like maybe the best parents or whatever are the ones who are like, I can sacrifice my happiness for you. But like I do think that I am a really good mom. I'm gonna say that. I'm very proud of myself with parenting and stuff. We have a very good relationship with my son. And I will also say that I think having my son has changed my life in many, many ways. I think it really pushed me to be better. It really kind of, I think, helped me avoid some really like bad situations. Like I was in a very unhealthy relationship at one point with this one guy who was extremely manipulative. He was a professor at University of Chicago. He was at 28 years old when he was a professor. So, and he wrote books and like super, super genius level smart guy, but he was learning how to manipulate people. And he was doing that to me. Like initially, the relationship was very happy, everything's great, and then control and slowly became abusive, to the point where it was really hard for me because I'm like, I have feelings for this guy and this is happening. But I think the main reason I ended up leaving eventually is because of my son. Because to me, I was like, this guy is going to destroy my son. This guy is going to be very bad for my son. Like I cared less about me, and it was extension of like my son was what mattered, and how what he saw, how I lived my life, how other people were affecting me mattered to me more than what I thought about how people were treating me, or something. Julie, you have something to say? Because I feel like you have something to say.
Me? No,
Like you have a lot of thoughts right now.
I do. I just, I've heard some of this, and I just think that I have nothing to contribute except I have so much. As I'm listening to this, I just think about how I've grown to know Lucas, and he is just such a button. Oh my God, he's such a sweet, sweet kid. I tear up thinking about him. He's so cute, and he loves Deanna so much, and he trusts Cliff. I'll catch you. He would, okay, I mean, they are just, and he's just such a cutie, and he crawls on her lap and says hello to us and tries to get our attention, and all that. The thought of him not being with her is just too much. This is hard and beautiful.
I would say that like my son, I mean, I have always been somebody who really has strived towards bettering myself, right? Like I've always tried to learn how to, like how to be happy, because I've experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of really BS stuff in my childhood. I would say I survived it. That's how I would call my childhood. I survived it because it was extremely traumatic in many, many levels to me. And like, I learned, I think, to be quiet. I learned to, you know, I don't know, to not maybe listen to myself or maybe question like, oh, maybe, my needs aren't important or whatever. And my family, I have a friend who said that my family has always seen me as like a scapegoat or something, like she's always the one to blame for everything. I don't drink. So it's always like Diana is going to drive us home because we're going to get drunk. There's been times where they're getting drunk, and I was living with my parents at this time, and they're all getting drunk, and I go down and I ask my brother, when do you want me to drive you home? And he's like, I'll let you know, go upstairs. And I'm like, okay. I go upstairs. An hour later, I'm like tired. I want to go to sleep. I ask my brother, when do you need me to go to drive? Because I am really tired right now, and I want to go to sleep. And my brother gets mad at me, right? He's like, okay, fine, just go, and gets mad at me for like, staying up and for like being tired and refusing, like I want to go to bed. Can I take care of myself, right now? And I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to bed. And then my mom gets this notion that she's gonna do it, and she's like drunk. And then my father got super, super mad at me, and he's like, if your mom gets a DUI, it's your fault. Part of it. The worst part was that my father started to yell at me and call me names and say, you bitch, you whatever, like really horrible names, calling me, saying how like it's my fault, I'm so horrible. And then I was upstairs in a room and I'm listening and I'm like scared, he comes upstairs and he like with his fist very forcefully just like slams on my door where I
Mhm.
was in, like where I was like staying at, and it's like, I guess you want to kill me right now. I guess,
Yeah.
like that's kind of because I'm not allowed to have boundaries right now. I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to be safe to take care of me. My brother, of course, who
Yeah.
is, a boy, and I think
Women.
there's always been that thing in my family that my brother is more valued, I think, and I
Mhm.
think it really kind of pushed me to really work to like get out of there and to like, get education. I don't know. And what I told you just now isn't even half of my experiences, honestly.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
was pretty bad. Sorry, I'm like, I was talking to a guy I'm dating yesterday in the
Mhm.
evening, and because he wanted to know about my childhood too, and I said I can tell you, but at this point, like I have done a lot of healing through a lot of BS that happened to me, so it's not really that painful as to
Yeah.
share. I'm actually being more mindful of right now is how it's going to affect you. Do you want to hear this, and do I want you to hear this? Because I'm afraid that it's going to be like, oh my god, and then you're going to feel horrible,
Mhm.
because I've experienced and grieved through it already. So
Mhm.
now, like, I can tell you, but do you really want to know? Because
Mhm.
I'd rather be called a thriver instead
Yeah.
of survivor. I
That's
think I would prefer
yeah.
to be I am thriving right now.
Yes. Yes.
It's
That's
okay to be a survivor, but I think it's not so great to see yourself as a victim. I
yes.
think it's better to see yourself, yes, it happened, it wasn't great. And maybe for a time I needed to see myself as a victim,
Mhm.
because I needed to kind of experience that and be like that wasn't okay,
Mhm.
But I think the next stage is, that it happened, and I really like to cultivate the attitude of gratitude and
Mhm.
like, no, yes, all that BS happened. It was crazy. I kind of wish it didn't. However, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I think, I am a very empathetic person. I think, when I see other people suffering, it like hurts me.
Yeah.
I really feel it. It's like I can really empathize with it, because I've been there, and I know, and it really like this app. I would say way beyond whatever money we're going to make. It is very motivating for me that we're going to help people. That is really kind of the main driver for me is that I don't want people to be where I have been or to like just, even if they are, to have a hand reaching out and saying, here's a way out, like having a way out of that crazy BS that, I have been in a number of times and I'm sure many people have too, so that's really what we're doing. It's like we're creating a hand that reaches out.